President Donald Trump today said he got, quote, great reviews for how he handled himself during, well, a meeting yesterday, a bipartisan negotiating session on immigration.
It was a tremendous meeting. Actually, it was reported as incredibly good. And my performance, you know, some of them called it a performance. I consider it work. But got great reviews by everybody other than two networks who were phenomenal for about 2 hours. Then after that, they were called by their bosses and say, oh, wait a minute. And unfortunately, a lot of those anchors sent us letters saying that was one of the greatest meetings they've ever witnessed.
They sent those letters. They must have gotten there really quickly. I could say more, but I'm going to keep moving. During the meeting, the president expressed support for this deal to potentially protect 800,000 people, often called dreamers, from deportation. There was a discussion of the comprehensive immigration reform. That would go to the entire undocumented population, estimated around 11 million. He also then told Senator Dianne Feinstein, who we were just talking about, that he would, in fact, support a clean DACA bill without border security funding, which obviously would end this whole standoff if true. He did say it. Yeah, I'd like to do it. And the White House's official transcript completely excised that line, which the White House then corrected under pressure. Trump's supporters, though, are also unhappy, which cuts against that self-performance review he just did. Sean Hannity resorted to visual aids to demand, quote, border security first. Many of Hannity's ideological allies also much less restrained.
Today, in a remarkable twist, the president held a televised meeting with the very swamp creatures he once denounced. Yet these are the same people the president now says he trusts to write the immigration bill, the one he'll sign no matter what it says. So what was the point of running for president?
I think the president's been encircled by folks that just don't understand, don't care, and they adhere to the other side of the ideological agenda. And it is a sacrifice. What he's doing yesterday is a sacrifice of the rule of law.
He was clearly trying to overcome the bad press of this Michael Wolff book by showing, oh, he's in command. But in fact, what he did was fulfill every description of him in the Michael Wolff book. He doesn't listen. He has no command of the facts. He agrees with the last person who speaks to him. Whoa, this is a disaster. It was the lowest day of his presidency.
I'm joined now by New York Times columnists Michelle Goldberg and Leon Wolff, managing editor of the conservative Blaze. Michelle, was Ann Coulter right just there?
God help me. I mean, except for it being the lowest day of his presidency, there's been many, many other lower depths. But yeah, I think she was absolutely right that he called this meeting to prove that he wasn't a blithering idiot and showed that he has no command on the facts of the central issue of his presidency, right? I mean, the excuse for Trump is usually he's new at this, he's never been in government before. But he doesn't know enough. He doesn't know about immigration reform what you would know by, say, perusing the Fox News site for 30 minutes. He doesn't know what a clean DACA repeal is. He doesn't know what comprehensive immigration reform is, or why that's such a taboo among conservatives. You know, he has and he does, in fact, agree with the last person that he talks to on any subject. So nothing that he actually said in the meeting can be taken seriously in terms of policy. But it was, I think, a demonstration of just how malleable and disengaged he is.
Leon?
Well, let me say this. I think that people like Ann Coulter and Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson are about to find out the hard way what Steve Bannon learned earlier this week, which is they're not driving the bus when it comes to Trump support. They think they are because they were kind of early adopters of the Trump movement, and certainly among the conservative leadership, people who are thought of as conservative leaders, the early adopters of Trump were all kind of hardcore immigration people. But the rank and file Trump supporters, I think, are going to stick with him because for them it's not ideological at all about anything, including immigration. It's really more kind of they feel culturally on the outside and they want to be part of what they perceive as a winning movement. And to them, whatever Trump does is going to be ipso facto correct. I'm not discounting that some people are going to be upset, some small number of people, and they're going to be high visibility people. But I think most of his people, if he comes out tomorrow and stands hand in hand with, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and announces some great deal he just made with the Democrats to give all the illegal immigrants, full citizenship in exchange for some border security measure, they're going to say, see, we told told you he was a great deal maker, and look what this, great deal that he came up with.
Leon, here's some callers into Breitbart on this issue.
First impressions of that meeting yesterday is flat-out betrayal for the voters that put him in office. I voted for him for immigration and only immigration.
That's not what we voted for, and I don't believe it's going to be accepted to the American people. And let's be clear, if the American people who voted for Donald Trump are abandoned in this process, they will not vote in 2018.
Leon.
Again, I think that it's advantageous, especially if you're controlling the call screening, to put people on who agree with what basically your website's platform is. I'm telling you, among the rank and file people I talk to, I would not be surprised if they stuck with Trump through this, or literally anything else.
You're getting awful close to calling those people like fake sources.
Well, listen.
You don't want to do that.
There's a certain amount of that to politics on both sides of the aisle. I mean, a lot of people view politics as just basically a team sport, without the sports. It's whoever's wearing the right jersey we're going to cheer for. And for a lot of these people, it's not about ideology or immigration or whatever it is. It's about Trump, and whatever he does, they want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Michelle, Leon is outlining a common claim, although I think it is wrong. And it's the idea that Trumpism is Donald Trump and never moves. And, the evidence that we have about people who are really, really into Donald Trump, what you call the super base, are a lot of people who've actually put their money down with Donald Trump. And we know that over time, not initially because they put their money down, but over time, a lot of those people sued Trump Soho to the point that he no longer owns it. Because they were unhappy with what they said was fraudulent business practices, sued Trump University, which was a business founded to give business advice that went out of business. And it was a customer base of people who loved Donald Trump so much, they paid money to go learn from him and found out he wasn't there because there was no Donald Trump in class.
Although that's I think that a business is different than a cult, which in some sense is what Trumpism
Fact check,
is.
True.
And so, I think that we'd be better off looking at like the sociology of cults and the God that failed and how apocalyptic cults don't abandon their prophets when the apocalypse fails to appear. I mean, I think that it's more in many cases a kind of religious devotion or a religious style devotion. But that said, it doesn't have to be all of them. His approval rating is already really low. It's already 36%. He doesn't need to lose all of his base for it to tank the Republican Party. He just needs to split off a kind of hardcore chunk of it. And there's no solution to this that doesn't alienate someone that he needs.
Well, Leon, I said you were wrong. Look at the business. Michelle says I'm wrong. Look at the Colts. A final word from you for your thoughts.
Well, listen, I don't want to go so far as to call it a cult, but I think that Michelle is more or less right in what she's saying factually, which is, listen, I come at this from a different perspective. I covered the Republican primary kind of from the Republican side, and all I will say is I will believe that any significant portion of Donald Trump's base is going to abandon him when I see it and not before.
Fair and well put, and appreciate all of the insights from across the spectrum here, Michelle Goldberg and Leon Wolf.